This is a hook for aid climbing, and this is a hook that goes in sideways for aid climbing. And you might be excited when you get one of these in the mail because you want to go aid climbing. But then you realize there's no way to clip anything to these things. And if you buy these at the last second and you're going up a wall another day, or you're already in Yosemite and these are in the bottom of your bag, you might be like me. The day before we did this episode,
wish you luck. Break a leg.
Break a leg, dude.
Or both.
Ryan Sheridan hooked up the first pitch, all the way up the first pitch.
Because these choices have fucking consequences. I am committing to it. I'm on it. This is me now. This is my life. This is where I live. I live on these hooks. It's cool though, because they're my friends.
And we didn't have anything for the hooks, so we had to make stuff with some leftover accessory cord he had laying around, which was not the right size. Now, the problem that I personally don't like on the two hooks that actually do come with sewn loops, which is fantastic, this is by Petzl, is the height drop. When you clip this, your personal anchor is that far away from your actual high point, which is what you're hooking and trying to stand on. And in aid climbing, every step matters if you can high step. Every inch matters. And your center of gravity, how high you can step up, is really dependent on where this gets clipped to. So the higher this can get, the less aid climbing you need to do. So I prefer these little red 4mm cords that are tied in an overhand, and we put them on here. And I'm just gonna talk these up real quick. That loop right there is so much smaller. It is barely enough for the carabiner to be clipped to it. And that is how I prefer to have my hooks. And it doesn't matter to have this big bunny tail on the back because it's on the back and it pulls the hook in. It's very much similar to how they tie the sewn loops or sew the loops on here. Now, all the camp hooks, they don't have anything on there. I know that Scott Wall Gear will sew loops like this for you on these other hooks. And I wanted to get his opinion why, so I traveled all the way to Yosemite to see what he had to say about that.
Oh my God. So much work to find you. What do you think about sewing loops on hooks versus the thing that I do with the red accessory cord where I tie an overhand loop?
Well, the problem with the overhand knot is that it's so bulky. And when you actually have a loop that's sewn on, you get actually a higher strength rating because the stitching is stronger than the knot. And then you also have it much more compact and sleek. So when you're packing them into the little bag you store them in, they just fit better. It's just cleaner, it's sleeker, and it's just more bitchin'.
Do you color code it based on the hooks? Is it? I thought he was gonna fall me.
The loops are color coded to the beaner that they go on. So the beaner matches the color of the webbing.
Okay.
But I do not have a specific the black diamond cliffhanger is blue or the Moses pointed is yellow.
When you do it for people, do you take color requests?
They do. I'll ask them, what do you want, what color?
Because it doesn't matter to you.
I don't care. No. However, they have their color system is theirs. Or they just say, just do it however you do it.
Scott, I need a couple of shoulder-length slings.
You got it. Up.
I wish I saw some rivets up here.
I wish I saw some. That's a great El Cap line.
Rivets are bomber.
I think what Scott said is helpful. However, the strength thing is funny to me because I have pulled so many things that I literally cannot pull test these for you in this video without breaking the hooks. And so I actually made a video where I pull tested the red cord in a hanger because the hanger has a small enough hole, and that was the only way I could actually get the red cordelette to break. So don't worry about strength if you're climbing on hooks. You decide if this is more bulky than this. I do like the idea of them color-coded, but I also am not maybe I'm not hooking hard enough. I only need one every so often that I can't look down and be like, that's my cam hook. That is nice if you want to have a really clean system. Scott's Wall Gear will sew you whatever you want. And that is something you definitely don't make money doing. That is a community service. You can send whatever hooks you get from us to him, and he will do that. Let me give you a little POV of the different hooks that I have laying here. So these are the 4 cam hooks by Moses, where they go in a crack and you pull on it this way, or you have a lip, you stick behind there and you lever it down. That is not the shape it's supposed to be. So, well, 3 to 4. Now, this one is aluminum. The rest of these are steel. This is wide, and I've never placed it, if that tells you how useful it is. This I might have placed once in my life.
Cam hook time though. Blend between the two. I like it. Moving my alfifi up though. There we go. I can put a little bit more force on it. Transferring some more of my weight on it. I'm gonna trust it. I'm not gonna go like crazy on it, but I am still gonna try to top step as best I can. This is the cam hook you need. Even if you're doing C1, you wanna take a cam hook like this. This cam hook just fits in things. It's hard to explain. Just trust that this is the hook you want. You want at least 2 of these. And if you wanna take some of these for variety, great. This little guy I've also have never carried, so I've never used, but I would be interested in doing so in the future because some cracks are a little bit smaller. Once a crack gets to about this size, black totems start going in there. Now, the thing about tying this overhand knot, and the reason we include it with your thing instead of doing it for you anymore, is because it can work itself loose in shipping or packaging, or it's not, you don't want it like this because then it'll come undone and then people will still use it when it's looking like this. So tie it yourself and get it to the exact height that you want, and then stick it on this side so it's pulling it into the rock. So it sits there like that. It finds a natural seat, and then you can clip your carabiner in there, and it's got nice thing like that. Now, I don't usually clip a carabiner to this when I'm using it. I actually clip this to my daisies. So daisies or ladders, whatever your primary thing is, that's what you're going to be clipping in there to eliminate a carabiner being on here. And then you take your daisy carabiner and clip it to here, and now you just lost all that height. So you want this to be directly connected to your personal anchors, in my case, the way I climb. So this way you have the least amount of drop as possible. Next hooks. I won't pretend to pronounce French, but this is a grappling hook, and this is a grappling hook, and this is a tinier grappling hook. And you can see, depending on how big your lip is that you're trying to get over, if you've got like a nice, like what would be considered a handhold to a normal climber, you could just do that, because it's really not fun to try to do one free move when everything else is a blank wall. And then you start getting into these pointy things, which is called a Logan hook, or this is often what I'll find is a little pocket pod, tiny hole, little divot in the rock, and I actually use these. But this is my favorite one because it has all the different sizes. You have that size, you have that size, you have that size, depending on the lip that you're going on, and it's got a really stable base. And the way that these red cords work, they're universal on all these things. And so these are 4mm PES or polyester cord, and we are going to include these in every hook on our site that you need them on, because it's really annoying to get hooks and not have what you need. You can see that these 2 hooks are more or less accomplishing the same thing, except you don't have as wide of a base, but this is still good enough. I almost every time use this one anyways, because it just sits in the low spot of whatever pocket I'm putting in the best. So I'd be just as happy taking this. It takes up less room, but maybe having both, depending on how much hooking you need to do. And these are both Petzl's hooks. You can see one's got a pointy angle and one's more of a grappling hook that would go over a lip.
You don't necessarily want this over a lip, otherwise it sits on there funny, though it could work.
It is amazing that it takes 12 inches of that little cord in order to tie a little tiny knot like this. But this is going to be included in every hook that we have except the Petzl ones, because they already have the sewn part. And if you want to send them to Scott Wall Gear afterwards, feel free to. He will sew anything custom you want. Now, the idea behind tying this is it's just as simple as an overhand. You need to figure out the height difference between being able to actually get your carabiner in there and having enough tail. You have to have enough tail. It's probably a good solid thumb width worth of tail. That is going to be super good enough for what you're doing with the hooks. But I think it's important that you weight it. You can do that. That is not going to jiggle loose. Now, what keeps your red cordelette from falling off of your hooks? I never have them without a carabiner or attached to a handful of carabiners. They're not loose in my bag, right? So that can never fall off. I've been doing this for quite a while. I like this more than webbing, and I definitely like it more than tying a double or triple fisherman's, because by the time you run a cord through both sides and then tie that big fat fisherman's knot, what happens is you have one strand now going over the lip of that hook, which means you need a thicker cord, potentially thicker than this. And then that knot sits about right there, which means the loop is down here, and you're having at least as much of a drop as this, except there's a big fat knot here, which is probably what Scott's referring to, which is really bulky. So this is the easiest, cheap, immediate way to do all of my hooks, was the overhand. I know stuff like this may seem silly, but I think it's really nice to include as much of the little things that you need if you're going to be ordering stuff from us. Now, we have an entire big wall course of 14 videos, 12.5 hours of helpful content about big walling. If you want to go check out that next.
Ready to haul? Okay, start hauling. Are those raindrops I feel?
I don't feel anything, man. The weather will be fine. Lift it.
Hey, we're out of beer. I think we need to go down.
I'll buy you a beer when we get to the top.
What are you doing?
I'm just trying to be supportive.
Ryan, it's not how you get ready for a big wall. If you wanted to see how to do a big wall, go check out this online class called How Not to Big Wall, because this ain't it.